my horror-loving dudes, I'm KillJoy Jake, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler review of Evil Dead Rise. If you have not seen Evil Dead Rise yet, check out my spoiler-free review right over... There should be like a little card that pops up right up there somewhere on the screen. If you don't see it, there's a link in the description below as well. But for those who remain, let's get into it.
Well, sometimes that is better.
Evil Dead Rise is directed by Lee Cronin, who also made The Hole in the Ground. It's produced by Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi, and Robert Tapert, the OGs of the franchise. It stars Alyssa Sutherland as Ellie and Lily Sullivan as Beth. Overall, this is a great entry in the most wonderfully evil franchise horror has to offer. As an Evil Dead fan, every itch was scratched with this movie. I saw some crazy amounts of blood and gore and kills, and the Deadites were super creepy. I'm gonna say it one more time, spoilers, because this next thing is like the biggest reveal of the whole movie to me. You have all the Deadites in the third act kind of congeal all into one big Deadite blob monster, essentially, that then goes after Beth's character and she kills it with the chainsaw, pushing it into a wood chipper. Does it get better than that? I don't think so. One of the biggest things I loved about Evil Dead Rise is its characters. Ellie, played by Alyssa Sutherland, is our driving force of horror, playing our main Deadite this time around. I don't know how I would rank all the Deadites in the franchise, but I know that Alyssa Sutherland would be up there somewhere. She is excellent in this film. The entire sequence with her and Nell Fisher at the door is creepy as all fuck.
Open up now.
You don't look so good, Mom.
Nothing a big old kiss from you won't fix.
That is the most petrified I have been watching a horror movie all year. I thought that was so impressive. Seriously, that sequence is a 10 out of 10. Lily Sullivan as Beth is fantastic. Like I talked about in my spoiler-free review video, when I was seeing the trailers for Evil Dead Rise, I was getting worried that maybe they were just pulling another Mia on us. In fact, how her character is introduced in the film, I was really starting to think that was the route they were gonna go, but thankfully they didn't. They deviated and did something else with the character. Beth is a guitar tech. It doesn't seem like she's making a bunch of money. A lot of the people in the building call her a groupie, which I think is really unfair and obviously mislabeling her as to what she does. I think it would have been easy to make Beth basically the same character as Mia, but they didn't go that far into it, and I appreciate that. They find different things to do, not only with the setting, but with the characters themselves. This is a very different array of characters than what we've ever gotten in the Evil Dead franchise, and I appreciate that. Seeing a family struggle to fight against Deadites is very interesting. In the past, it's always been ambiguously young, stupid people and medieval knights, so this is a nice change up here. Speaking of characters, though, all of the kids I think are great, with Nell Fisher being a big standout. I'm kind of happy they didn't kill all of the kid characters. I was kind of expecting like some of them are going to turn into Deadites, and well, then that last trailer spoiled that they turned into Deadites, which would have been a nice surprise. I'm really glad I didn't have that spoiled before I got to see the movie, because that was shocking. This movie has balls. It kills kids. 2 of them. Say what you will about horror movies this year, but they have been nothing but experimental, and I really appreciate that. Going back to a few other films from the past couple of months, like Infinity Pool, Skinamarink, The Outwaters, I might not have loved all of those films, but I appreciated that they tried to do something different, every single one of them. Even Megan, coming from Blumhouse, which is basically the Disney of horror, did something different. Maybe not everything is hitting for you in the horror genre this year, but I do really appreciate that we're trying different things out. We're going down the left path where we usually go right. Evil Dead Rise thankfully falls into that category. The kills are on par with Evil Dead 2013's very hard to watch, slow deaths, but I will say I think Evil Dead 2013 has the edge over this film. Not to disparage the kills in Rise though, which are still pretty damn fantastic. The eyeball being a callback to Evil Dead 2, I really enjoyed. I also loved the cheese grater sequence, which was teased to us in the trailer, but it's even more wonderful in its full glory. The kid biting into the glass and swallowing it is just really upsetting to me. And who could forget about Staphne, which is my favorite character of this whole film. Hilarious setup for a fantastic kill. I mentioned this in my spoiler-free review video, but I love that this movie feels like a distant cousin to Evil Dead 2. Like, it definitely has the horror and the comedy elements, but at different percentages than that original movie. Where Evil Dead 2 feels like a 50-50 of horror comedy slapped together in a slapstick-like fashion, Evil Dead Rise has like 20% comedy in little doses, which is really nice, and 80% terror and horror. In my opinion, this is a better balance, because when something funny happens, it's way funnier than if it was just constant joke after joke after joke every like 5 minutes or so. There is a touch of goofiness in the kills, like I was talking about the eyeball kill earlier, but not the whole time. Like, most of the kills are pretty straightforward, terrifying horror. But then Nell Fisher will say something really funny to Beth, and she's just like, I hope we get out of here alive.
Yeah, you know how to lie to kids.
And it's this really nice moment of levity in this very, very dark and gruesome film. The comedy of the film never softens the big blows of horror that they have here. This one packs a punch. Keeping on track with this reference portion of the video though, I love that we brought the saying back, "Dead by Dawn!" I love that we brought that back. It felt like an old school Evil Dead film, just like how we did in Evil Dead 2. That was great. I loved that. It's a little thing, but it's a nice touch. It's a nice sprinkle of sugar on top of this bad boy. My one issue with all the references and stuff, there's one thing I would change about this film, really. Can we go back to the white eyes? Can we go back to just the plain white eyes? That is so much scarier in my opinion when someone just has blank white eyes. There's something about that in the original movie that is so much scarier in appearances than any of the other films. I don't know what it is, but when people just have blank white eyes, there's something terrifying about that to me. I also love the way they handled the lore behind the Necronomicon. Like if you remember in Army of Darkness, there are 3 books in total. One of which sucks Ash into the book into like this portal to hell, I'm guessing. But then if you remember, the other one bites his fingers, which this book has teeth. So that must be specifically that second book from Army of Darkness. I think that's a really cool reference. It's fun. It's obviously a redesign, but I dig it. Some more standout moments from this film is the wire sequence where instead of tree branches doing that awful thing, it's wires in an elevator. I don't know what's worse, really. Both of them are pretty bad. Speaking of elevators, though, we get one full of blood, just like this is a Shining sequel or some bullshit. How can a simple horror fan like me complain about an elevator of blood, though? That is always going to be a positive on my list. And like I was talking about before, a bunch of Deadites come together to form a super Deadite. I have no notes. That is a 10 out of 10 decision right there. I don't know what else to say. That's fucking awesome. With the way this movie is structured and it's lightning fast paced, it almost feels like you're fighting the final boss at the end of a video game when you get to this whole sequence. It's so much fun. I love this movie. It's so fresh. It deserves that 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. All jokes aside though, I really only have one criticism of the film. I just feel like the ending of the film should have been at the very beginning as well, if that makes sense. Like if that was one long sequence at the very beginning, I feel like it would have set up the horror that we got when we were at that cabin just a little better. And I get that's supposed to be like a reveal because of how the Necronomicon got from point A to point B, but I think it would have been a little better if we had just set that all up at the beginning. You get to hang out with those characters a little more, so it's more upsetting when they die. I think that would have been better personally, but I still love what they did. I really, like I said, I think this is a damn near perfect horror film, and it's another great entry in one of my favorite horror franchises. And you know what? I'm still giving Evil Dead Rise a 10 out of 10. I loved this film. It is currently my favorite horror film of the entire year. I thought that Evil Dead Rise kicked some major ass, but what did you think about it? Leave me something about the film in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching this brand new review video of Evil Dead Rise. Please like this video and subscribe or I will crap in your toilet at 12:01 Eastern Time every single day until you do. Thank you all again for watching, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.